There's an old saying that goes like this: give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. This principle is worth considering when it comes to leading our people in worship. Let's talk about that a little bit more in today's weekly worship thoughts. As worship leaders, we have the distinct privilege of giving people fish week after week. We are the ones who are doing the hard work of preparing a set list, practicing the songs, rehearsing the songs, and then ultimately serving up the songs during our church worship gatherings. And this is good. There is absolutely nothing wrong with giving the people a weekly dose of fresh fish that is served up and ready to go. But let's not make that our only priority. Part of our job should be to teach the people to fish for themselves. Now, dropping the fish analogy just for a moment, let me communicate very clearly. I am talking here about teaching the people to praise and worship God apart from our weekly gatherings. Many of the people that we serve week after week by leading them to the Father through musical praise and worship do not realize that He is just as accessible, sometimes even more accessible, outside of the assembly. Many fall into the trap of thinking that the only time they can successfully connect with God is when we are leading them in musical worship. Sadly, we tend to be the very ones who are laying that trap, and this is bad. Yes, we should continue to give fish to our people on a regular basis. It is good and right for us to do the work and to prepare a ready-made meal for our people to be a part of, but we also need to be teaching our people to fish for themselves on their own without us. And here are just a few tips that can help to that end. Encourage daily worship, Bible reading, and prayer. While you are leading your people in weekly musical worship, take a moment to encourage them in their daily personal walk with Christ. Saying something as simple as, "I hope your daily Bible reading and prayer this week was rich," can go a long way in communicating that you actually want them to be pursuing God on their own. Model daily worship, Bible reading, and prayer. This can be tricky because you're not exactly inviting people into your own private prayer closet. You can, however, still make reference to what the Lord has shown you throughout the week as you have faithfully spent time with Him. Sometimes I like to start a song with a comment like, "This week as I was spending time with God, I felt like He was really revealing this truth to me, and I want us to have a chance to sing this together." Offer great resources. If there is a great article, book, daily devotional, worship album, or Christian radio station that you have found to be exceptionally helpful to you in your walk with Christ, take a moment from the stage to encourage people to check it out for themselves. Look for ways to become less. One simple way to communicate that you want your people to connect with God without you is to be actively raising other people into your position. Look for Spirit-filled, good-hearted potential worship leaders and work with them. Train them. Give them opportunities to either lead a single song or even the full worship set. And finally, pray for your people. Prayer is powerful. Prayer changes circumstances and it changes hearts, including our own. If you want to see your people actively pursuing God on a daily basis without feeling like they need you to lead them, then you need to be actively praying for them and asking God to make that a reality in their lives. It's time for some real talk. It can be so easy to get wrapped up in the Sunday to Sunday treadmill like a hamster on a wheel. All of our energy goes into the upcoming Sunday morning church service. And when Sunday is over, we take a moment to breathe, and then we're right back on the treadmill, right back on the hamster wheel. That trap is not good for anyone involved. It's not good for you, and it's not good for the congregation. If you are not already doing so, you need to start thinking about the bigger picture. Our job is ultimately not to simply lead musical worship week after week. Our job is to advance the gospel and make disciples. And that mandate comes from the top, from Jesus Himself. Leading musical worship week after week can certainly be a huge part of our main job, but only if we are intentional about it. So I want you to take a moment to think honestly about how your contribution as a member of the worship team is making an impact beyond the weekly church service. How could you use your position on the worship team to point people to Jesus beyond Sunday morning or whenever your church service happens to be? How could you use your position on the worship team to be proactive in making disciples? A great starting point would be to incorporate the few tips that were previously offered, but you know your own context and gifting better than I do. Don't spend your life serving up meals for the day. Focus on finding ways to truly connect others to God for a lifetime and beyond. In your own words, how do you think the saying, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime," fits into our role as worship leaders? Do you want people to be fishing for themselves throughout the week? If so, in what ways are you currently encouraging and teaching them to do that? In what ways do you think you have fallen into the Sunday to Sunday treadmill trap? Have you recognized this about yourself? What are you doing to change it? Which of the tips that were offered most resonate with you and why? Are there any that you think you are currently doing well? Are there any that you think you are currently not doing well? Do you agree that our ultimate purpose is not to simply lead musical worship week after week, but to advance the gospel and make disciples? If so, how do you think you can practically be doing that through the worship team?